Mic check. Mic check. Good morning. Good morning, PT on Ice family, and welcome to yet another episode of the PT Daily Show, presented by the Institute of Clinical Excellence. I'm Mitch Babcock. Glad to be back with you this Friday morning, on this Fitness Athlete Friday. Just continuing to have a ball with this season, passing the mic and listening to a bunch of people and just gaining a ton of value. It is Friday the 13th, if we date this episode. Scary, right? Scary stuff. Sitting out here on the porch, you can see my breath a little bit. It's fall in Michigan. So it's appropriate then that we approach a little bit more of a scary topic, if you will. We've spent a lot of time on Fitness Athlete Fridays talking about squat technique. Ryan's kind of talking about some culture of strength and helping you kind of revamp your approach to your practice and your treatments. But it's important that we circle back around to the elephant in the room when we're talking about things like fitness athletes and stuff and in the CrossFit culture. That we really address some of the biggest barriers and some of the biggest, roadblocks to, why, some clinicians have an issue or a big issue with CrossFit. And that is really rooted in the CrossFit METCON. Metabolic conditioning. Essentially, when I say METCON, what I really mean is like the WOD, right? The workout of the day where the 3, 2, 1 go and the timer starts and you got a bunch of work to get through in a set given time, or you have a set amount of work to get through and we're going to time you on how long it takes you to do that. And we've heard a lot of pushback, right? Since CrossFit's inception, this was the Achilles heel, if you will, from opposing communities of it's not safe to work out for speed, to do Olympic lifts for time. It is not appropriate to push someone to that level because their form is going to break down and injuries will result, right? We've all heard this. We're all familiar with this line of thinking, and so it's appropriate then that we kind of, if I do anything, just give a different perspective on it. Give a perspective of why it's important, of why the timer needs to exist, of why that because the timer's there, that fitness has been driven as far as it's been driven in the last 10 to 15 years. And to simply showcase that, just look at the amount of work and the things that the CrossFit Games athletes were able to do this year and compare them to 2007 when they were held out in a ranch in California. The workouts at the CrossFit Games that year would have been laughed at this year. It would have been child's play for these athletes. A fraction of the volume, the weights would have been laughable. And that progression in fitness has been due in large in part to the METCON, to the timer on the wall, and to driving fitness. So I want to try to highlight a few things. A lot of this morning is going to come directly from the CrossFit Trainer's Manual. I'm highlighting this because it's a free download. This is not exclusive by any means. You can go on CrossFitJournal.com and pull up the Level 1 Trainer's Manual and download a big 90-page or 60-page PDF, which is essentially everything that's going to be covered in the L1, the Level 1 certification for coaches. It's a great resource. I highly recommend you do that, whether you're into CrossFit or not. It might give you a better background on some of the methodology where you might be having some gaps. So first, let me open up with why METCON, right? Why is this important? Well, it's important for gathering what we would consider the quantification of fitness, or for observable, measurable, repeatable data, right? Put this in relation to our physio world. The timed up and go is worthless if it's not timed, right? So we need some observable, measurable, repeatable data. We need to be able to track longitudinally if you are getting fitter, and we can't just use the mirror selfie as our metric of doing that. We need some hard data that you completed this workout at this date in this time, and thus fast forward 6 months, you completed the same workout in less time, okay? So it's highly, highly valuable. I can tell you from having been in the CrossFit gym almost 2 years now that you watch athletes who come in, folks that come in the gym and who aren't sold on CrossFit but realize they need to do something, they need to get healthier. And before they ever see the scale moving and before they ever recognize their body changing, we're starting to showcase, look, the changes in performance, right? This is proof to you that you are getting fitter, that you are on the right road. And it's enough of that buy-in in that initial stage where people will typically fall off because they're they're putting in a lot of effort on the front end and not seeing much return, that we can keep them longer and until they start to see the gains that they want to see, until they start to see their pant sizes go down and they're feeling more energy at the end of the day, etc. So I can tell you it's got an extreme amount of buy-in. What's important to keep in mind here is that the METCON is not simply just about how fast you can go. That's a metric. The timer's there. We want to know that, but that's not the only variable. And so I want to highlight a few things in the Level 1 manual that kind of speaks to this. It looks at 3 components of the CrossFit workout essentially, and that's looking at efficacy, efficiency, and safety, right? All 3 of these are kind of, this Venn diagram, if you will, these 3 components of a well-tailored fitness program in attempting to quantify our fitness, right? And so efficacy then would be, what's the return on the program? What am I getting for the effort that I'm putting in? What are the tangible results of that program? Efficiency is the time rate of adaptation for that to happen, right? So in the manual, a program that says it can deliver 50 pull-ups is worthless if it takes 10 years to accomplish it, right? So what's the efficiency? How long is that time rate of adaptation going to take place? And then safety, of course. How many people are going to make it to the finish line that started, essentially? What's a METCON? A METCON is considered metabolic conditioning. It's essentially how CrossFit programming or how CrossFit workouts are done. 3, 2, 1, go, the circuit, we're going to go 3 rounds for time of these 5 movements. Those are essentially considered METCONs. Thanks for the question on there. Okay, so those are the 3 components: the efficacy, the efficiency, and the safety of a program, right? All those 3 matter, and you can dramatically increase the safety of a program by decreasing the efficacy and the efficiency of that program, right? We can take 100 folks and they all come out with 0 injuries, but the slope of improvement, it might be minimal at best, very marginally increasing over time, and the return might be minimal after that time as well, right? So after a year, we didn't get much of anything, but no one was injured, so I guess high five, right? And so on the flip side, you can really ramp up the efficiency, right? The time rate of adaptation. We can get things to move quick, but it's going to cheat the safety of the program, and a lot of folks may drop off, may be injured, may fall out, but the ones that stick with it are going to have high rates of adaptation. So there's this balance here. There's this continuum of all 3 of these factors, and no singular one, really, we would argue that safety obviously takes precedence, but we need all 3 to continue driving fitness forward and driving that adaptation forward. To this point, they use a lot of similarities in other sports, right? Sports that require athletes to have precision, accuracy, and where they're under the clock, where the clock matters. And so they bring up the point of typing, shooting, playing the violin, or NASCAR driving. They use these 3 references in the CrossFit manual. And they says, and I quote, "What these domains have in common is that a marked proficiency is associated with speed. Being able to shoot accurately and quickly is better than just being able to shoot quickly or being able to shoot accurately," right? You can see how all these components have merit. And thus, if we're going to push someone that says, quote, "A NASCAR driver wants to both drive fast and not wreck," right? In CrossFit, a perfectly exquisite Fran is worthless if it takes 32 minutes. Fran, for those that don't know, is 21 reps, 15 reps, and then 9 reps, and that's thrusters and pull-ups. So you do 21 thrusters, 21 pull-ups, you do 15 thrusters, 15 pull-ups, you do 9 thrusters, 9 pull-ups. That should be about a sub 5-minute workout, and it hurts really, really bad right here in the chest. But if it takes you 32 minutes to complete that, but form is exquisite, you're going to miss the intended stimulus of the workout. You're going to miss the intensity piece that's going to drive adaptation over the long term, right? And so, similarly to a NASCAR driver, you can make every turn perfect and take dead last in that race. And so thus, your perfect driving ability is not important at all to the sport of which you're partaking in, right? And so there's this balance there. And how do you learn to continue to work faster but not wreck your car, right? Not spin out in the infield, rather, right? And so that's what's important in the METCON. That's what's important in CrossFit. That's the piece that matters. So as a clinician, our job is not to say, I hate any CrossFit gym that, encourages their athletes to move faster. Well, no, because we want them to move faster. I want your timed up and go to get faster. We need that speed interval, but we don't prioritize it over everything else. We prioritize technique. We prioritize efficiency in the movement, and then I want you to continue pushing against the clock. What that means is that as a good coach is going to prioritize technique on the front end. They're going to be very, very heavy on technique starting the class. They're going to say, listen, this is what I need to see out of these back squats today, or this is what I need these cleans to look like. That being said, as the workout goes on, if I see someone moving just beautifully and exquisite, the rule is to tell them to move faster. They're the NASCAR driver that's making every turn with precision, but they're in the back of the pack. Now we need you to go quicker, right? We need adaptation to occur. We need to push the intensity a little bit more. They are going to get to a point where they're moving faster and things start to not look right. They start to fall apart. We're starting to sacrifice technique a little bit. The goal is not then to slow them down right away. The goal is to keep them at that pace, because we found that metric now. We found the tipping point for them, to hold them there, but demand that their technique improves. The only way you learn to both shoot quicker and accurately is to continue shooting at that speed and not miss, right? You don't just always back off the speed. You'll never learn to shoot at that speed. You'll never learn to drive at that speed if you always pull off, right? What we need them to do is hold that speed and continue hammering out the technique. Improve it, make it better, refine it. If they're unable to do that after multiple cueing and coaching, then you ramp them back down. Too fast, slow down. I need you to correct this. Maybe we peel the weight back, whatever. But it's not a default mechanism of just don't go that fast, because the athlete will never learn to adapt to that speed. Ultimately, at the end goal is work capacity over broad time and modal domains. We need you to do more in a set period of time, or to do a set task quicker, right? And so that's what a really good coach will do. So when you're examining CrossFit boxes in your area, the goal is not to, you guys work out, for time. Yeah, you're just like the other one down the street. Well, no, of course they're going to do that. What you want to say is, when an athlete's working out, when are you intervening? When are you providing, when are you stepping in and demanding that technique improves? When are you stepping in and pulling weight back? When are you stepping in and saying that athlete's moving really, really well, we need to push the throttle a little bit? You want to know how well calibrated the coach is to recognizing these, to spotting the flaws, and saying, hey, this athlete needs to slow down. If the coach is simply saying, we go hard, we go fast as you can go, cut corners, doesn't matter, just get a faster time, then that's a gym that we need to turn away from and probably find another one across town. If we say, yeah, we work out for time, but you know what? At the end of the day, it's about how well you can move. We're going to be good movers here, and then we're going to push the intensity. We're going to push the envelope a little bit once you've demonstrated that you have good capacity and good competency over these movements, right? That's essentially what you're looking for. Not so much that the gym doesn't, utilize the clock, but we utilize the clock in the appropriate manner. It's just one variable that we're going to continue retesting against. It's one part of that observable, measurable, and repeatable data, but we need to make sure things look solid. For example, we had a workout yesterday that I was coaching. It had goblet squats, sit-ups, and burpees. So very higher volume-ish, but very cardio-based, right? For just a lot of body weight movements. And on the goblet squats, I had one athlete whose right knee collapsing in her squat in a dynamic valgus kind of position. And cued her during the warm-up, cued her like, hey, show me this position. She could show me. Great, keep it just like that. Workout starts and knees falling in. I'm giving her verbal cue. Hey, so-and-so, drive that knee out, right? Okay, yep. Fixes it for a minute. I find that it keeps falling back in. And then I demonstrate, hey, drive those knees this way, not this way. Drive them this way. Okay, fixes it for a minute. Continues falling in again, right? Now you can it's the heat of the moment, right? The music's loud, the timer's running, they're trying to go as fast as they can, but they're demonstrating technique issues at that speed that are unacceptable, right? So I went and got the PVC out, and no, I didn't hit her with it, but I stuck it inside of her knee, right? So literally, don't hit this PVC pipe. And it was on the last round of goblet squats. You could have just let it go, right? That's the last round, be done in a couple minutes. But that's not the intent. The intent is if you're going to move at that speed, that you're going to move well. And if by me putting my PVC pipe in there slows her down a little bit, then that's necessary. She needed to slow down because she's demonstrating this flaw, right? And so it's about being relentless as a coach and demanding that the athlete performs the way you want them to perform and not just performs fast, right? You got to be relentless. You got to find coaches that believe in that mindset. It's not just about the scary Metcon. This is not the fault of the CrossFit methodology. It's more or less the fault of a coach who's not relentless in their pursuit of perfection and technique. And it's a fault of the athlete whose ego is too large and gets in the way and inhibits them from slowing down and moving at the necessary speed to master essentially the movements first and then pushing the throttle. Okay, so right on the mark, 8:45. That's the scary Metcon. That's my 2 cents on it. That would be if I could summarize, would be CrossFit's 2 cents on it as well. Again, I would encourage you to take a look at that Level 1 training guide. It's a great resource. It's free download PDF. Have a look through it if you have questions on that. Otherwise, a few courses coming up. I think Justin is already sold out in Charlotte for the 21st, next weekend. So the next chance to catch Justin Dunaway in this total spine thrust course would be in Boston in November. So hop on ice.physio and check out those dates to grab him in Boston. There's a couple seats left in Maryland for Ryan and I's course at Ryan's Place, Recharge. We got a good group of people out there. Couple spots left before we close the doors on that. So catch us there. And then also we're down in Greensboro, North Carolina in November as well. At GSO CrossFit. That one's going to be awesome as well. A good crew of people are going to be there. So, Seth, thanks for hopping on, brother. Again, don't fear the Metcon, guys. Promote better coaching. Promote better movers, essentially. The clock will be there. We need the clock, but don't fear the clock. Okay, as always, enjoy your weekend. That's it for the PT Daily Show today, and we'll catch you next week, next Monday. Take care, y'all.